Let's be honest, comrades. Raise your hand if you want to hear another speech. This is true. And about 7% of the room just raised that, A comrade was up here earlier talking about the need to be honest with each other, I'm going to try to be short. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to succeed. I know, really, a lot of things I'd like to say, but then I'd start rambling, I agree with Comrade Fred that this conference indeed is maybe, possibly, probably, definitely is a turning point for the party. One of the good things about coming up here is that you get to see you. And a lot of people had to leave, but y'all still look great and strong. And every, age group and every nationality, we are a threatening, dangerous organization. We are, I'd be worried. I'd be worried if I was the enemy. I'd be worried. That's right. I want to say a little bit about the election campaign and what the party needs to do this year, but I think I want to ramble about the struggle against racism just for a minute. It's important. I mean, we've certainly touched on it. Many of the presentations were dedicated to it, the breakouts, but you can't say too much about the importance of it. I think it was Joe who talked about really what the struggle against racism is and national oppression. It's the struggle to hold the working class together because the enemy wants to break it up. We've all heard that or said it 1,000 times, but there's so many instances and crises and reasons that we have to keep bringing it up. This Black Lives Matter uprising, I'll tell you, some can say it wasn't perfect, whatever that was. I've heard criticisms, it's petty bourgeois, they said that about the Black Panthers too. They certainly said that about the Young Lords. Some of their founders were on campus, So maybe some of the Black Lives Matter leaders, were either students or even teachers, didn't necessarily come from, where Mike Brown came from, who was murdered in Ferguson. But come on, think about this. No, this year of rocking, shut 'em down, demonstrations, direct actions of all sizes, occupations, closing bridges, it has not stopped the police. They're still murdering and brutalizing our people. That's right. And the prisons are still filling. They talk about it, but that's bullshit. Hillary Clinton talks about it, other candidates talk about it, but they're not going to do a damn thing because they need the police. And in some ways, I think in recent months, in the bourgeoisie, in the government, whether it's the FBI or the Homeland Security, which is everything now, everywhere, I think they've actually talked about this and doubled down. Not only double downing, in terms of killing and brutalizing more Black and brown people, young people, but everybody really, but also on the protests. If you notice, they've gotten more heavy on the protests. Here in New York, where we're supposed to have a liberal mayor, somebody called him up and said, listen, if you say anything that gets in the way of the police, maybe you'll have an accident, and the police won't be there. Or maybe the police will be on the other side of that accident, because mayors come and go. The police is a state, it stays, But they've done this. Clearly they've made racist repression a huge issue, I talk to, Reverend C.D. or Sharon or any of the branches where they've been fighting against brutality for years. But this year, transcended it. Finally, it took a rebellion, in Baltimore to bring the cameras there. They left, But it took a rebellion. And, you know, police murders was not new to Baltimore, as it's not new to most places, you know. But they did something else that's important. And I'm not sure, but we may not have talked about it enough. We may not appreciate the depth and the gravity of this phenomena. No, we have not stopped the police, and we won't be able to until a revolution, really. But there has never been a greater political crisis that the police have been in than this year, at least in memory. Maybe in the 30s, maybe after they broke up a rebellion, made that big unemployment day in the early 30s or something like that. I'm not sure, I wasn't there. I only know what I've read and what comrades have told me. But the political crisis of the state has never been greater. And, you know, there's all sorts of stories about cops. You know, they're not policing now. They're letting crime run amok and stuff like that because they're going to be attacked and they're afraid to beat people up and kill people. You know, I don't know whether any of that is true. I think it's bullshit, you know. But they are demoralized. They are demoralized because what the police expect, this is how this works. What the police expect is that the superstructure, the politicians, the church, everybody who has any kind of standing in the public will always support them so that they can kill us. That's why they have those big funerals. It's a ritual. They don't do it when a worker dies. They don't do it when, you know, a bus driver gets hurt or some worker working on a construction site dies. You know, there's no big funeral where all the politicians come and, you know, they let off all the police and they come from not only from the from the city, but from all over the country. This is a ritual. It's pointless to say the police or the state, they are sacrosanct. And no matter what, no matter who's in office, Democrat, Republican, the state is important. This is not important, this is important. You know, that's what they do. And their PR is really in the toilet this year. And so you can understand how they're very demoralized. This struggle has done that. And I say that to say this. I know that all of the branches and all of the comrades have done whatever they could to support this Black Lives Matter uprising. But keep it on the front burner. Keep it on the front burner. It's necessary, inevitable, understandable that the people in the front ranks of this rebellion are black, young black people. More whites than I've ever seen. And this is good. This is good. But at some point, we need to have protests where not only do we have the young whites, a lot of them in the People's Power Assembly, very good revolutionary potential. We're very proud of them. Very sensitive on all the questions that they need to be sensitive on. Actually quite exemplary when you consider the reactionary period that we've gone through. But we need to have everybody, including white, multi-generational white workers coming out. And not in some moderate demonstration led by some moderate civil rights leader to rival the militants and to say most of the police are good, which is what they always say. But to say this: the black youth in the streets, the brown youth in the streets are not alone. You cannot isolate them. We don't want to take over their struggle. That's not the point. Interview them. But we want to tell you this: if you think, as you have done in the past, that you're just going to get young black people and you're going to isolate them, politically and have the media, putting them down and calling them terrorists and all that stuff. I think the head of the FBI gave a big speech about how the cops were demoralized and how terrorism might be a part of Black lives. They get away with this stuff. Nobody says anything. We are not going to allow them to be isolated and then extinguished. This is what they did to the Black Panther Party. They split the movement. We're not going to let that happen. Workers and progressives and revolutionaries, regardless of color and age, at the right time and place, have to come together and say, we're like this with them. We are like this. You will not isolate these people. And we don't want them to be moderate. We don't want them to, agree to your conditions, to go in this place over here and demonstrate, where no one can join them, where they're in almost under arrest because they're in some barricades. No, we want them to be disruptive. We want them to be in your face. We want them to shut things down. We want no business as usual, and we are for them. There's got to be more of this, comrades. There's got to be more of this. We can never lose sight of it. I confess I felt a little bad as I was watching TV last night, and I saw the protesters outside of, NBC. Protesting Saturday Night Live, which had Trump on. I mean, talk about a platform for a billionaire racist, And it looked like a good demonstration, probably a couple of hundred people. And I wish that our schedule would have been such that we could be there. I don't know whether that could have happened, but I thought the same thing that I thought about the Black Lives Matter uprising. It's good. I think most of the demonstrators were Latina. I don't know. I'm not sure. Based on what I saw, just a glimpse of it. But not only should that demonstration have been much, much larger, but it should have been more representative. There'll be a chance at some point where we can do this. But we can't have Trump running around calling Mexicans killers and thieves and rapists and, all the shit that he's done. Just in your face, horrible racist shit. And the movement doesn't do anything about it. That's right. And filling these stadiums, these sports stadiums, he loves to do it in the South. I wonder why. He loves to go to South Carolina or Alabama or something or Texas, and fly in. And it's an all white audience. I mean, it's scary. It's fat. I mean, it's scary. It gives you goosebumps, in the bad way. He can't continue to do that and the movement not find a way of standing up. It's not the only thing we need to do. Perhaps it's not the most important thing. That's an argument. That's argumentative. But, I'm not trying to say that Hillary Clinton is going to be any better than a Trump or all of these bourgeois candidates in the Republicrats, or the Demopublicans, whatever you want to call them, But it's not healthy. It's not healthy for our class and our movement when you have a racist like this that's able to go around saying what he's saying, and there's no uprising somewhere. There's no uprising. It's not healthy. You want to wake people up. Don't you see what's going on? You want to shake people. Sometimes we have to shake ourselves. I don't know when, I don't know where, but there's going to come a time, maybe in the next few months, certainly in this election year, where it's going to be a time for us to be there. Maybe it's the RNC in Cleveland. Maybe it's the DNC in Philly. We just talked about that in one of the breakouts. Or maybe it's something that will happen before that. But the movement is going to have to throw down. And it's going to have to be bigger than 50 people or 100 people. It's going to have to be like, no. This will stop. If someone like Trump or any of them is going to go around attacking Mexicans, then I'll tell you what, there'll be no business as usual. We're giving you a glimpse. Read the handwriting on the wall. There'll be civil unrest. Shit will get broken. Businesses will close. You'll need to hire more cops or maybe the 82nd Airborne or whatever, because shit is going to happen if this person keeps going around attacking Mexicans. I remember Yarford. So I came around the party when I was 19. I was a GI. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. Forgive me. We had a group called Youth Against War and Fascism. Some of you who are about, and my first impression as a 19-year-old black youth was kind of like, whoa, it was mostly white, in your face, militant people, stopped Wallace, broke up a Wallace, rally in Madison Square Garden or something like that. And I was like, damn, whoa, crazy white folks, And I wasn't sure quite culturally, what, it was just, I wasn't sure what, and where's the black people? When they, demonstrating against racism, just crazy whites. Some of them got helmets on and whatnot, and shields and stuff, But I say this to say that my thinking and my reaction to that has evolved 100%. I would love to see some crazy white people demonstrating against racism. I would love to see some crazy white people shutting shit down, Black Lives Matter, stop attacks on migrant workers. I would love it. That's what is needed. And you don't have to be young either. People have got to see that. It's important. It's important. Racism has a reason. Trump's doing this for a reason. He's doing it for a reason. That's why all those white folks, I couldn't say that, but that's why a lot of them show up. They're nervous about the economy. A lot of them are small business people, whatever. Maybe they're not doing good. And he says he's going to bring America back. And he wants to bring it back on top of black and brown people who are too uppity.
That's right. That's right.
And white workers and white revolutionaries, along with their black and brown sisters and brothers, have to say, no, not me, not me. I'm not going to be quiet. I'm not staying home. And I'm not waiting necessarily for someone else to demonstrate. And if no one else is demonstrating, maybe I will call the demonstration and work like hell to get a lot of people there. Final thing on Black Lives Matter. And a little bit of the criticism about them being petty bourgeois or whatever, and not as revolutionary as some of us would. Tell you, when you consider how, we're such an exception here. We're such a rare exception, which, it's incredible that we have this room full of revolutionaries, and where there's a room full of revolutionaries, there's more. All you have to do is go and find them somewhere. But it's amazing when you consider how weak the revolutionary movement is, how weak the movement is, So there was no one there really in place except some of us, to try to impart some experience and some political advice to some of these young activists in the Black Lives Matter movement. It's not the 60s, it's not even the 70s. A lot of the groups have been decimated, It's not like there were people there that said, oh, you're moving, what can we do? And by the way, would you like to read this? And this is what Lenin had to say about the state. And yes, I will be at the demo, and I will get a lawyer, and and I'll get arrested for you. My legs are bad, but what the hell? It's just once in a while I'll do it. They were in terms of the movement and movement support. The Black Lives Matter uprising was pretty isolated. They would have loved for there to be people of a certain age, of any race, any color, that would have said, what you're doing is great. What can I do to help? That's the first thing. That's the first thing. And then maybe after, you won their trust, you can say, I have some thoughts. I have some thoughts that may be helpful. That's how it works. That's how it works. I want to just jump on this so-called identity politics bullshit too. See, that's a big issue. Oh, identity politics, that's not the working class. Why are they, LGBTQ and women and everybody wants to be so, why can't we just be the working class? It sounds militant, it's reactionary. I'm in my 60s. I have been in the party for not quite 50 years, but close, And I think I know a lot, whatever, And I thought I was pretty good on these issues. But I've learned something over the past year. And I've learned it from observing and participating in the Black Lives Matter uprising. What I learned, and I'm not the only one, but I made sure to keep my eyes open. Sometimes you think you know so much that you close your eyes. Y'all ever had that experience or seen somebody who they can't see anything? They think they know everything. But I made a point of making sure that my eyes and mine was wide open and that maybe some other people had something to impart to me as opposed to me just, gladly, egotistically, whatever, telling them what I think they should do. This Black Lives Matter uprising, there's been a class struggle within it. And part of that struggle has been finally, in the anti-racist movement, the emergence of women and LGBTQ, particularly trans people. And this is not identity politics. This is the most oppressed. This is straight out of Phoebe's speech. These are the people who have been kept down. Some of them have been told, don't come up to the podium, do some paperwork and, make some phone calls and, do the administrative shit and all the patriarchal, sexist stuff that goes on in every organization. Let's face it. Let's be real. And some people, especially trans people, no one has wanted to see them. Can you go to the back, way back, because some other people may get upset and all of the bigotry. There has been a revolution against all of that shit in the Black Lives Matter movement. And it's incredible. It is a good thing. It is a great thing. And some of us have seen it. We've seen those who have been kept down and invisible rise up finally and be up here. Not just, the well-spoken guy, which was the story. In all movements, and particularly in the civil rights movement, it's really been earth-shaking and mind-shaking. And it's something that we must support. It's something that must not end. We must support it. Okay, you are rambling and you should really stop. Okay. I'm finished. Really. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. It does have a big question mark, like, what are you talking about? Just getting back to how great this conference is and our election campaign. Our election campaign is going to transcend. It's going to take the party to a new level, but a level that we desperately have to be at. Because this system is falling apart. Eventually, if not tomorrow, new crisis will break out, whether it's a war crisis or whether it's the market crashing and a bank failing. And, all this stuff causes pain. War causes pain, financial crash causes pain, means unemployment. You think things are bad. Wait until there's a real depression, like there is in Spain or Greece, But we can't do anything about that pain. That's part of the contradiction of the capitalist crisis. The silver lining in it is that the crisis radicalizes people. I must confess, I'm a little disappointed. I was following the financial markets, and those who follow it less than I do may have noticed that, like late in August, it was really, they lost about 10 points or something like that. And some of us were like, yeah, this is great. Big crash, like '08, And somehow they stabilized it. It's a day-to-day thing. I was hoping that by the time we got to our conference early in November, that there would be some huge market crash, and it would be a big up, It usually is. So there wasn't, all right, but there is going to be one. And if it's not that, it'll be some other thing that exacerbates and opens up a new phase of the global capitalist crisis. We have to not only be in the past and the present, but we also have to be forward-looking. And one of the reasons why the party desperately needs this election campaign. And it's going to be a kick-ass campaign. You know what? We're going to use everything that they use against us. There's no democracy in this country. They don't even want to talk about the bourgeois media. They don't even want to cover most of the Republican candidates. Some of them are governors or ex-governors. Some of them are senators. They won't even let them on the debate stage. You think they're going to let us on there if we don't crash into the place? You know, I don't think they would even give, as phony baloney as Sanders is, they weren't covering him that much. Everywhere was Trump, 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 you know. My goodness, oh, they're giving coverage to a billionaire. What a shock, you know. Our campaign is going to be an insurgency. It's going to be a guerrilla warfare. We're going to use everything they throw against us against them. See? You know, if we can't get on a ballot, we'll run right in. Or maybe we'll have an electronic, social media vote. You know, we ain't getting elected. That's not even that issue. But we'll find a way for everybody who wants to support revolutionary socialism and Black Lives Matters and the struggle for migrant rights and the struggle against imperialism and the Palestinians and everything that we're for and everything that is glorious. We're going to find a way for people all over the country, no matter where they are, small town, big city, South, Midwest, Coast, we're going to find a way for everybody. Or we're going to die trying, find a way for anybody and everybody who wants to be part of our campaign to do it. It's going to be guerrilla warfare. It's going to be insurgency. And a big thing, we're saying a lot of things, but one of the most important things, one of the most truthful things is to say, you're lying, you're not democratic. This is a farce. It's rigged. All of the money that you spent and all of the debates are bullshit. It's totally rigged. And that's why nobody cares. That's why you have to have all these debates. That's why the election season is the longest in this country. You know why that is? Well, people make a lot of money. That's one thing. But the bourgeoisie gets in a room and says, the masses are not into this. So maybe we should start running a year earlier. And just like pollute the airwaves and TV waves with this so that they can't get away from us. Every station, Trump, Hillary, whatever. They literally have to do that to get a rise out of the masses. We're going to expose all of this. But the most important thing, we have many objectives, but I would put forward to you that our main objective is through this election campaign, a year from now, which will be, I guess, around the election time, the party will be stronger, whether that's more members, and it will be, whether that's more branches, and it will be, and whether it's in other ways, mostly members and branches. That's the most important thing. Don't tell me about it, show me. We gotta be stronger, comrades, because our class needs us. How many of you have had this experience? Someone has come up to you, maybe an activist, maybe someone not quite as active as you are, whether you're in, the Midwest or whatever, or in Baltimore, and said, I really appreciate what you're doing. Raise your hand if that's happened. Even sometimes it's a surprise, somebody who you didn't think was paying attention, and they come up to you and say, I really appreciate what you're doing. You can extrapolate that to our party. That's the way the working class feels about that, about us. Even that sector of the working class that doesn't even know we exist. They really would appreciate if there was a party that was trying to provide some leadership in the struggle against the system. So if we're serious and we're just not a talk shop, we have got to make ourselves stronger. Otherwise, we cannot help our class. That's serious politics, and that's what this election campaign is going to do. I think it's my duty at this point to put into nomination. Is that right? Oh, my goodness. To put into nomination the candidates for president and vice president representing Workers' War Party, Comrade Lamont Lilly for vice president, Comrade Monica Moorhead for president. I think I need a second. Can I get a second? Are there any other nominations? There better not be. No, I'm just kidding. Whatever. There may come a time, listen, there may come a time when they're all, hey, we can deal with that. So I guess now that it's been seconded, can we get a vote? I think hands will do. Should we do hands, or do people want to stand up? By acclamation? Do we accept our candidates by acclamation? Thank you. Thank you. So I think at this point we need the candidates to come up here. Oh, okay.
All right. Thank you, Larry.